Now con nó đâu qua thế mấy cái mình đã hiểu con nó là nó đi con nó nhìn nhảy hiểu con nó là đâu qua thế hiểu bắt con nó làเลยcái đâu qua thế lấy piano con nó thi đâu qua thế lấy con nó thi đàn cài con nó thi qua lấy con nó thi con nó thi chân ná lòi con nó thi qua lấy con nó thi đâu vừa đấy chân ná lòi con nói con lao đi đâu vừa đấy con nó thi lao đi cái cơ mà giờ nào có rồi đâu vừa đấy khó lỡ oi cơ mà nó đâu vừa đấy con nó đi đi
Qua lạiมีเรือเท่าไหร่อ่ะ
Is the verbiage?
มาเที่ยวอยู่ที่คอนโดเลยมา
con
เที่ยว
nó
That's whenever we would throw a grenade, we would say drive out or what have you.
nó bao nhiêu
And if there was potentially grenades coming at you, that's when you would say.
con nó
So even like the use of verbiage, stuff like that is pretty important because you have someone
ลูก
yelling.
พ่อเลยคอนโด
In Sabika,
พอจะป
Minnesota,
ฏิบัติก็พอ
Wayne
คอนโด
County police were involved in a deadly shootout.
โอ้วิจาร
Deputy Mayor was escorting a young female civilian as part of the department's ride-along program. They had no
đâu vừa đấy mấy trẻ hé quá lo
sovereign citizens. If the officers fell, the killers wouldn't be leaving any witnesses. The incident began with a simple speeding violation, but the suspect, David Sella, refused to pull over, leading Deputy Mayor on a brief chase.
แล้วคอนโดสวน
He eventually stopped, not to pull over, but to turn around.
ก็เชื่อ
As his face came into view, he seemed calm, as if the deputy wasn't even there. It wasn't until the deputy shined a flashlight on him that he seemed to reevaluate his
มากกว่า
situation.
ก็ค่ะ
He put up his hands, as if to surrender,
พัชเอ
right back to turning the car around. You'll see him repeat this behavior throughout the encounter.
กูบอกมาหรอ
The officer began issuing
chơi
verbal
đâu
commands.
vừa đấy
พัชเอที่ว่ากินเราพัชเอกินกว่าเลย
But this only caused the suspect to become argumentative.
อ๋ออย่าบ้าเดี๋ยวเราจะปวดไป
A second vehicle approaches from behind, and Deputy Mayor senses danger. He calls Officer Warren for backup.
เดี๋ยวน้อยใจแต่อาเคราสุดเชิญ
That's when David lost traction with the snow. His vehicle was immobilized, but the second vehicle still posed a potential threat. Deputy Mayor was an 11-year veteran with the Wadena County Sheriff's Office, so he knew not to take such things for granted. The deputy warned the other driver not to get involved. But they
ว่ามึง
refused.
ว่าดมดาวมึงว่า
Officer Worm needed to get there fast. The suspect is verbally unintelligible in the video, but the deputy has reason to believe that David is a sovereign citizen.
มึงจะหนีรถ
He's
ไม่
a
เหรอ
government extremist who believes that even though they physically reside in this country, that they are separate or sovereign from the United States.
ปากร้อยหรอ
The officer maintained a
Ang
calm
baba,
demeanor
Cora.
throughout the confrontation, hoping that the suspect would calm down. At one point, the suspect opened the door, only to close it on the officer and continue berating him. Thankfully, Officer Worm arrived at the scene, and could assist Mayer in removing David from the vehicle. He got the door open again, this time wedging himself to where the suspect couldn't close it. They finally pulled him out, wrestling him to the ground. But they turned their backs on the second driver, who just so happened to be David's brother, Shannon Sella. When David continued struggling, the deputy deployed a taser.
แต่ดอกยังไงก็ตาจันน่ะแล้วที่ชอบเวนน่ะ
Snapped. David pursued the officers with his weapon drawn, but was immediately shot by Officer Worm. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Shannon's attempt to save his brother was the very thing that lost him. But Shannon was still standing, filled with a vengeful bloodthirst, and both officers had been shot.
ช่วยใส่
จอดเลยที่จอดไปเลย
ใจแล้ว
Even though Mayer was wounded, he attended to Shannon's wounds first. Having experience as a paramedic, Officer Worm was saved by his vest, and Deputy Mayer made a full recovery. But Shannon was later pronounced dead at the hospital, and that was the end for the Sella brothers.
เพื่อตัวคือบริษัทเว้ย
A tragedy fell on Wisconsin, one that would forever change the protocols of safety and security for Green Bay police. What you're about to experience are the minutes leading up to the final shootout, and you'll experience them from 5 different but equally terrifying perspectives. Officer Stevens arrives at the scene. He immediately readies his standard pistol, but the situation will require something more tactical.
Sorry.
Somebody give me a gun.
แล้วก็คอนนาเมียเดมูก็คอนนาลีเลยนี่เหรอก็ช่วยได้น่ะก็ช่วยได้แล้วครับผม
Bruce K. Hofall, age 62, had been fired from the Gut Creek Kitchen Plus bar earlier that year.
คือพัดไก่ย่อละดอก
He
บัว
had
เนี่ย
a series of disturbing
มัน
behaviors,
ไปอ่ะ
including threatening a co-worker and their family with an image of their home. But nothing could have prepared them for what he did next. Officer Hubelmans navigates the frightened crowd.
There's an active shooter. Leave the scene.
อีแบบนั้น
อ่ะ
อีแบบนั้นแบบไม่ทัน
ดอกบัวเนี่ยเอากับพี่เลี้ยเลย
Where's the sports bar?
เดี๋ยวรอเดี๋ยวเชร์กันอีก
On the door open. Where's the drink? Can I get around here?
เขานาทีละออกไปแล้วก็เลิกเพิ่มพันเลย
อ่ะ
ก็เอาไปแล้วก็เพิ่มค่ะ
เชิญเจ้าตัวอะไรนั่นเจ้าได้เชิญอ่ะ
ก็
ดูได้
เปเชิญนะเปเชิญนะ
Somebody give me a gun.
เบ๊ တော့ပဲပဲ
lấy dầu
A little bit further back, there was also an open door that offered a shooting angle for any potential adversaries hiding in their room. However, it has to be said that this was the first time these fighters from the Al Hammaron Brigade entered combat as part of the brigade combat teams in Gaza, and I am sure this was already evaluated by them in an after-action report. This video depicts fighters from the 931st Infantry Battalion engaging in an urban firefight with Hamas members during recent operations of the Nail Brigade combat team in Jabalia. According to an Israeli Defense Force press release, the soldiers received information about the presence of Hamas fighters and weapons in buildings adjacent to them and decided to launch a targeted attack on these structures. However, the Hamas fighters had already set up an ambush in the area and attacked the Israeli forces as they advanced along the main road. In response, the unit filming the operation bypassed the enemy position through one of the nearby alleys and surprised them from behind. The firefight ensued in which the Palestinian fighters fired upon the Israeli troops and threw grenades at them. The Israelis responded with grenades, small arms fire, and the handheld rocket launcher of the medical type. In the course of other encounters throughout operations in the same area, the fighters of the 931st Battalion engaged in more close-range face-to-face engagements, uncovering weapons and Hamas infrastructure in the process. The IDF reported that several Palestinian fighters were taken out during these engagements and shared a short segment confirming at least 2 Hamas fighters armed with RPGs to got KIAs. I had to cut this segment out of the YouTube edit, but mentioning it here for transparency. During further operations in the civilian neighborhood, fighters of the Israeli Yalom unit received information about the presence of more Hamas fighters in the area and their preparations to attack and ambush IDF forces. As a response, the IDF soldiers conducted targeted raids within the area and identified suspicious movements in one of the buildings, leading to a close-range engagement in the following wing of the building. The IDF forces documented the fighting on helmet cameras. A short disclaimer, this doesn't feature a lot of helmet cam footage, but later more to this. Also in Jabalia, during a patrol conducted by members from the Nail Brigade, IDF forces engaged in direct combat with 2 Hamas fighters in one of the many alleyways running through Gaza. According to the IDF, one Palestinian was taken out immediately, while the other attempted to flee while still engaging the Israeli troops. After a brief exchange of gunfire, the unit's task
Double Magta, move along, and you can put it down to a clay. The Buddha, the motor part of Buddha, the did the put a ma. Tableau.